Hey everyone, wrestling fans, welcome. Hey, it's great to be here for another week on AEZ All Elite Zone Canada, episode 27. And today it's a little bit different for us, coming a little bit special. We're actually doing our first live broadcast. So bear with us. I'm sure it'd be great. And we're going to change up the format a little bit, where traditionally in the past we've just really gone through and reviewed Dynamite in particular and touched on some of the shows of what's happening. But to kind of keep things more current and relevant, we're going to just talk about some of the burning hot topics that we enjoyed, that are going well, good storylines, good action, whatever happens to be for the week, and then we'll have some bit of story time, so which will be fun. It's always nice to hear some of these behind the scenes stories with Amit. And then we're also going to be touch on maybe some of the things that we don't like, some of the storylines, some of the action, and we'll touch on just some of the topics. So with that, around the room here, Siren, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely awesome. It's been a really good day today. Super.
Awesome. Connor, sir, how's your week been so far?
Talking to me or Amar?
He said you, Connor.
Oh, I didn't know if you said Amar or Connor. It's been going all right. I got a little sick right now. The only thing I can do is really just do this stuff. So, not the best week to start off getting COVID. Not the way you want to start off the week, but hopefully it gets better.
All right. Amir, how are you doing, sir? How's your week?
Doing okay. Week's gotten off to a pretty decent start. Work's been interesting, and we'll see where the rest of the week takes us. Looking forward to Family Day, long weekend in Ontario. That will be nice. I need a break.
I hear you. And Adam, love this shirt. Way to represent.
Oh, kind of cut out there. Yeah, no, I'm representing Owen tonight. Like I told everybody. Yeah, I know Matt's kind of cut out there, but yeah, no, always representing Owen, one of my favorite mid-card wrestlers, and always excited to be on the podcast, and glad we're live now.
Yeah, we are. And Mr. Hartgrave, and how has your week been so far, sir?
You can always see all the details of my week on YouTube because I broadcast my entire life. You can just search for Mr. Hartgrave AEW. My channel will come up, and you can see exactly how I'm doing at any given moment.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be here, and thanks for everyone tuning in. And please, be great actually if we could see if anyone wants to comment and join in the conversations. It's great. So, just want to touch on. I'll maybe just start, and then we can go around the horn and see what everyone's thoughts are. If they agree, I loved Hangman and Swerve match. I thought it was awesome. It was pay-per-view worthy, and man, I know you don't have a lot of Hangman fans. Come on, the mustache it's on fire, and things are going well. Siren, what do you think? This one?
He's definitely growing on me like his nose neighbor, for sure. Yeah. But I am really excited for him to lose. So, I mean, again, technically he didn't lose, but that time. But I am excited for Joe to pin him because I do believe that is how that's gonna go. But yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I'm not really much for third or fourth or whatever third matches of things usually, especially with people that I'm not a huge fan of, like Hangman. But I love Swerve, and he's starting to fill that MJF void for me. So I feel like rock on.
All right, Adam, would you agree that would this be in a highlight for you?
Yeah, no, definitely one of their better matches in this feud going on. Basically, a trilogy. Basically, about to be a 4 match coming Revolution. But let me tell you right now, the Magnum TA transformation in Hangman Page is almost complete. That mustache is definitely giving off the Magnum TA vibe, but I think this is some of Hangman's best work. Like Siren said, I wasn't a fan of Page's World Championship run, but right now what he's doing with Swerve is just beautiful, as well as Swerve turning into that fan favorite wrestler again, like Siren said, filling the void for MJF.
Absolutely. Amir, Would you agree with this match or this feud? What do you think?
100%. For me, Paige is still. I could kind of take or leave it. I understand his presence in this, and I'm not saying he's done anything bad. He just doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot for me. I have just been so impressed with Swerve. I still remember we had there was a collision, not this last collision, but the week before. Myself, Siren, and Connor were there, and when Swerve had his promo on that collision, we were just glued to the screen because that was so good. Excellent setup, excellent match, and it makes me want to see what's going to happen. I've said before, I think the highlight of a great story is even when you know what's going to happen, or you're pretty sure you know what's going to happen, you still want to watch it. That's a sign of a great story, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this one plays out.
Agree. Connor, how would you feel about this one? Just chatting about the Hangman and Swerve this last match, as well as any thoughts on the feud and how the storylines go.
I think this has been one of the main stories that's been really clicking with the audience. I think Swerve and Hangman's had a feud going on since. Let's see, it's been going on a little while. Wrestle Dream Wrestle Dream, Full Gear. I've had a match on Dynamite now. They've really progressed that feud, and now it's involves Samoa Joe, the AEW World Champion. I think this feud's been really, really good. I wish Joe was involved. It doesn't feel like he's involved with it as much as Hangman and Swerve is. He's kind of like Swerve and Hangman just beating each other up, and he's just sitting in the corner laughing at him, basically. That's what it feels. So that's one comment. Jesse, Connor, would it predict that? Yeah, it's weird out. That's what I said was going to happen. That they're going to have a match. It's going to be a draw, and then Joe's going to win at Revolution. And he's going to pin Hangman. He's not going to pin Swerve.
I agree.
That's how it is sometimes. I can predict things. Like I predicted every AEW World Champion in order up until Joe, which I'm not proud of. But I just have a good. I don't know. I just predict stuff. But yeah, I really like the three-way going on right now.
Cool. Mr. Hartgrave, do they have your attention? Are you invested in this rivalry?
All right, I got a Swerve for you. Okay.
Oh.
Everybody is so confident that Samoa Joe is going to walk out of Revolution as champion and that Hangman should never be champion again. But how would you all feel if Hangman was, in fact, our new world champion at Revolution? How upsetting would that be to you as an AEW fan? Would you be able to get over it? Could you handle it?
This is a milestone for me.
No, yes.
This is a milestone for me. I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but I would actually appreciate Maria Shavir a little bit more.
I mean, look, isn't it boring if we just get what we want? If it just occurs the way that we think it's going to occur? Is that really the most exciting outcome? Or wouldn't it actually be kind of thrilling to have Hangman win that three-way? Which I don't think anyone's predicting that. I don't think anyone's coming into this going, I think Hangman is going to win this. So doesn't that kind of make it perfect how unlikely it is?
Just as long as nobody ever gives him a mic again. He has to be like the quiet bandit after that. The silent Hangman.
Hey, I like this version.
The silent cowboy after that?
Yeah.
No.
He's like, who beats people and then just walks off into the sunset
I mean,
near
look.
the Spurs, and that's it.
What makes me kind of want it was the end of the match where he does kind of this crazy heel turn kind of thing, right? And
Like
we would get, if we can get bad guy Hangman as our champion, maybe that's a lot better than good guy Hangman. Because, face Hangman as a champion, we all kind of agree that was kind of a dud, right? But what if we get deranged cowboy going around hanging people Hangman as our world champion? Willing to do anything, willing to drink blood to win.
Totally. I like this. I think this version I could get behind for sure. I think we're doing a great job. He is like 110%. He is all in. There's no ifs or buts about him. Like, so the way his work ethic is and what he's doing, and he's doing everything possible. I'm like, yeah, is he worthy of being a champion of the work he's done so far, and plus where he's gone right now? I don't know. Maybe.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's going to hold it long. I don't think he's going to hold the belt. I think Swerve's going to take it off him at the next chance possible. Maybe at the pay-per-view the show the next night, the go-home show. Like, I don't think he's going to hold it long. But since it's so unlikely, I'm kind of rooting for it because nobody is rooting for Hangman. So I'm going to root for Hangman on this, and I'm definitely invested in this angle. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
It's really hard not to hate it.
Yeah, you know what? If that's the way that they're going to go, I'm for it. If Hangman can pull it off and be that guy instead of just playing the role of such a guy, which I still feel the Young Bucks are just kind of playing a role. It's like, oh, let's just play the role of douchebags, but we're not really douchebags. That's the vibe that I get from them. I'm giving them the chance to prove me wrong. But if Hangman can pull that off, I'm all for it. I think that would be great. I would be behind it.
You should just tell me to Swerve's the Beast. Thanks for watching.
I'm doing good.
And Adam, how do you feel? What do you think?
I mean, here's my thing. It's all in the chase, right? So having a heel champion to have a face fan favorite chase is in the money. And everybody knows that right now, the way Swerve's going, picking up steam with the crowd, getting that fan favorite. Say the unpredictable happens and heel Hangman Page takes the title off of Joe. That also demoralizes Joe because he just won the title in December, and he would only be a transitional champion. Where I'm with Connor, I think he deserves a good run as champion and needs to have that one-on-one with Swerve, not this three-way. This three-way is just to further the story between Swerve and Hangman on top of Joe continuing his dominance. I do believe Joe pins Hangman to where Swerve finds a way to get that one-on-one with him at maybe Double or Nothing. So for that, I wouldn't be shocked with the way booking has been in AEW that they're like, here, Hangman, take the title, but I do believe we're going to get the story of Joe retaining, pinning Hangman, continuing the whole push of Swerve stepping up to that role, being, I still want that title. So this whole thing is just good storytelling. It just, that payoff has to work. We talk about it with creative, and creative has to happen. So whether that goes the way it goes at Revolution, who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
No, I agree. I think if anyone's going to pull off this three-way win, it's going to be Joe. And that's, I think you're right. I totally think you're right. I think that they'll probably keep the belt on him for a while. He deserves it. He's a good champion. He's a strong champion. So, but with that, I'll just pass it over to Siren. Did you have a win for this week or something that kind of sparked your attention that you wanted to chat about?
Athena's back. I know it's not technically AEW, it's ROH, but they own it. And she's back, and I'm so excited, and it was awesome, and I'm ecstatic to have her back, and I'm loving the whole thing between her and Nyla with Billy and bringing in Lexi Nair. I love Lexi Nair. If I get to see Lexi Nair in a wrestling ring in the next 5 years, I will die a happy person because, I don't know if I'm going to make it past the next 5 years, but in that time period, Lexi Nair as a wrestler, I would love it. But yeah, no, I'm super stoked. I think the women's division in ROH is absolutely freaking stellar. And with her back, it's only just going to keep getting better.
Who do you see as the rising star over there in that case?
Right now, I think they need to build somebody for Billy, because she does have the whole, obviously her and Athena, Athena built her to be her opponent, but rising star, she's already at the top. I don't know. I want to see more. They have a lot of ladies that are kind of mid in ROH that are still kind of part of story that are kind of here or there. But I would like to see her have a great opponent, somebody on Billy's level, Billy's experience level for Billy. Not somebody like Athena who is the end game, but a nice middle ground, build up to that. That'd be cool.
Cool. Hey, Connor, do you have any thoughts on the ROH women's division? The way looking and shaping up?
No, I don't watch ROH like I used to, but I still know what's going on to a certain extent. You know, Nyla's going after the ROH Women's Championship. It's like they like if ROH has a direction of anything, it's their women's division. Athena, the Starks. And I've noticed on their roster page they've been really incorporating more people on the roster. Marina Shafir is over there. Probably Bestia is over there. Dora's over there. The Renegade Twins. I've always liked the Renegade Twins, and they're not even real sisters, but they're twins. I've never heard of that. Two twins that are not related whatsoever. I really like how they booked women's division in ROH. Hopefully, they get a little taste of that in AEW when something happens on March 13th. Hopefully, yeah, I really like the way that they've built Athena up. She's ever since she switched to ROH, she's became a main event star, and hopefully when she goes, then she's going to have to go back on AEW. Like all this success eventually has to pay off on a bigger stage. But I really hope that they sign Camilla Brickhouse to Ring of Honor, and Camilla Brickhouse is the one to take over that role for Athena in ROH. But I really like I really like how they've been booking the ROH women's division.
Well, they have the new television title, and then they're, I believe, on I think it's the 15th. So this upcoming Thursday, they're going to do the television title tournament for the ladies, which is going to be really cool as well. So I'm excited for that.
I can never get over this. It's a pet peeve of mine, the television championship, the TV. That drives me crazy.
Is it worse because they don't have a television show?
Right. The social media like championship, like I can't get behind it at all. Those things kind of drive me crazy. Amir, are you a fan? Do you watch much Ring of Honor?
It's not something I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of time for it, but I do try to follow, the results and things like that. And I'm familiar with some of the talent. I don't know. I think that my feeling is that and maybe this will happen when and if, and I guess it's pretty much a given that Mercedes Moné is coming into AEW. Some of the ladies who have gotten some experience in AEW are going to kind of have to go down there, kind of like Baron Corbin has gone back to NXT, that sort of thing, and strengthen that division. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that will certainly help them out now that they've got they need some more names there. I understand what Siren is saying, that they need to have more quality in the division rather than quantity.
I actually think that the quality in the ladies division and there's stuff that they have in ROH is almost better than what I get it. They have they have some really cool ladies in AEW that are super talented and very well known. But the build and the booking for the ladies division is infinitely better in ROH, in my opinion. Yeah. Even if the talent isn't as known.
That's the thing. Star power and name value, I think, will help.
Adam, do you have any thoughts on the ROH women's division and any thoughts on who's going to kind of shine this year?
Yeah, no, I'm with Siren. I think the women's division needs to be built up a little better in Ring of Honor. Definitely need to bring in some of those because it's a good roster of women wrestlers in Ring of Honor, but there's also something lacking there because you almost see the same few people chase the women's title, which I guess this world television title is going to be a good add-on to get, more faces out there and, more representation on the roster. But again, you compare it to some rosters, I bring it up all the time because I do believe they have the best women's roster in pro wrestling. That's TNA. Everybody's shining in the TNA roster for the women's division. Ring of Honor feels like they can do that. I mean, we talk about the women's division on AEW. It's stacked. I mean, that's why we have 2 titles. But I honestly do believe that someone like Billy Stark, still young, but is adapting the game really quickly in pro wrestling, definitely deserves a run at that women's world television title. But if that's going to happen, they need to build someone up to feud her with. Again, you bring in some free agents, you bring in some, they got a good relationship with other promotions like CMLL and New Japan and, MLW. I mean, bring some of those women over there. I would love to see some of those female luchadoras come over and wrestle. Someone like a Sexy Star, coming over and feuding in Ring of Honor just to get some good matches in. But I honestly think Billy Starks, I mean, ever since I watched some of her independent stuff, I knew she was going to just be something special. So I think that's who's going to have a really big breakout year this year in Ring of Honor.
Great. Mr. Hardgrave, are you a fan?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what they're doing in Ring of Honor. I think, with Mercedes coming in, we're definitely going to see some of the women from AEW make their way over to Ring of Honor, as we're already seeing, and it's doing great things for them. Like Nyla Rose is having a blast over there and getting a ton of TV time that she wouldn't normally be getting. I think this could be a really good move for Ruby Soho to make. I don't see her doing anything substantial in AEW, and I think she could be a contender. She could be that heel for Billy Starks, be some opposition for Athena. But it's just not, I don't see it's going to happen, especially with Monet coming in. Ruby Soho ain't going to be the women's champ anytime soon.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, while you're answering, do you, what's your story for the week? Which one your highlights?
This week for me was all about the Young Bucks across two programs, across Dynamite and Rampage. They went right from bloodying up Sting and Darby Allin into wrestling a match in the same blood-soaked suits. This is my favorite thing the Young Bucks have done, maybe since the Kenny Omega Hangman situation, which I didn't really even think of them as a really major component of that. This is probably the coolest stuff that they've done since starting AEW. Everybody hates on the Young Bucks. They literally built the place. This AEW was founded on their YouTube channel. They started this. So you got to give them that. People like to try to deny them that. But this is amazing. I love the iconic bloody look. I hope they take it right to the pay-per-view. I don't know where that's going to go. I guess we're going to look at it was a major tip-off to me when they came out to music that sounded a lot like Roman Reigns. I think that they're going to do a reign of terror with the tag team belts. It's going to last a good 2-3 years. It's going to be amazing and horrible all at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of feel they're kind of running with the what's best for business.
Yeah,
Mr. McMahon, because that's always worked in the '90s, so they're running with it.
Let's go.
Vince ran with it when the whole Bret Hart thing happened, and then he was exposed as this bastard, and then he ran. That's when the character got created, Mr. McMahon. So they're just doing the same thing. So it's great. So, Byron, what do you feel about this one? You look like you need to.
I love it so much. I am right there. I'm totally there. I've always loved them, and I've always been in their corner in the sense they're doing what right now what I think is perfect for them, because there's really only one way to answer to that natural nuclear heat, and that's just to lean into it, and they're really leaning into it. And I hope that I think it's really funny that they originally started with the Vince McMahon mustache, and then as soon as the allegations started to get more serious and things started to come out, they were like, we're gonna turn these into goatees, and that's gonna be because it was really spot on at first. You're like, oh, you're not hiding that at all. I really wish they would have kept it. I thought it was funny. But yeah, no, it was good. I love it. I'm excited about it. And so
Cool. Connor, how do you like this storyline? I know you're a big Bucks fan.
That'll never happen. But this story, I like how they played it off on Rampage and Dynamite. I think it's perfectly gonna. Sting and Darby's definitely going to win Revolution after that ending. They're not going to do that again to Sting. Sting's going to get payback, and the way he's going to get payback, they're not going to like, probably. But I think after Revolution, the title will be vacated. I could see the actually in tag champions then, with these new characters. They feel more, not just based on the wrestling moves now. They feel like they have something to bring outside of their moves, which... That's mainly what people like about them is their moves, but now they have something else other than their moves. And I got these characters that, if Vince McMahon had two sons besides Shane, this would be his two brick sons, running around, snot nose, beating up legends, and what's best for business, and this would be it. I really like how they at the end of the Dynamite, they had the bloody jackets, and then on Rampage, they come out with them. I feel like that they're going to wear those at Revolution probably. Like they'll probably wear those all up until Revolution. Those bloody white vest things, whatever we're going to call them. But I've actually enjoyed what they've been doing. Yeah.
Good. Amir, what do you? How do you feel about the storyline and where it's going?
I think I already mentioned I'm not the biggest Bucks fan. I'm still a little bit out on them, but they're doing the right things, and I'm not going to complain about that. I think if they take, they need to wear those outfits every week here on out, right? At least until Revolution. I just took a look, and tomorrow they're going to be out there against Top Flight in what is probably going to be a squash. They better be wearing those bloody white clothes, right? And that whatever Darby Allin or Sting or whoever does, and like that's not even relevant. Just keep doing that, and as you say, lean into it, but mean it. Like do it with every fiber of your being. And if they do that, yeah, then they'll get me interested.
Awesome.
They're doing the right thing so far. No complaints.
So Adam, have you now discovered what your new Halloween costume is going to be?
Yeah, I actually was gonna say 2 points on this merchandising, as they say in Spaceballs. But yeah, I can see them taking those white suits and turn them into shirts to make it look like the white suit with blood on them and everything. That's money right there. That's money merchandise. I mean that's huge. But no, the second point I gotta make is Nicholas and Matthew totally turning into the EVP heels. Definitely what it was needed. A lot of people have to remember most of this has to go through Sting, because Sting has a lot of creative input on his plan to retire. So Sting was actually, what I've read is that Sting wasn't big on winning the tag titles, but they wanted to reward him because he was helping AEW, so he was with them for a long time, for a while. I mean, almost since their creation, so but stepping in during the COVID years to kind of do that and work with Darby and kind of give the fan base one last run in pro wrestling. So most of it has to go through Sting. So Sting had to approve this whole story with the Young Bucks. I do believe and do agree with Connor that I don't think the Bucks win at Revolution. The best belief I can think of, the end of this whole the world's end, as to say our last pay-per-view, but the world's end to this story is basically retiring as a champion. I can see the Young Bucks coming out and using their their EVP powers as, hey, we're going to appoint ourselves tag champions, and there's going to be a tournament of tag teams to challenge us. So best of luck to everybody. And a lot of people don't know this, but I believe I've read somewhere that Sting's sons are trained. One of them is a wrestler, but one is training to be a wrestler because he was a football player. So they're both in training right now. So I do see them coming into AEW. I don't know what their tag team name, the Stingers, maybe would be the tag names. I mean, the Stingers would be a cool tag name. It's crazy how they look like him. It is scary, especially his youngest son. His youngest son looks totally like him.
If you look at a picture of Sting from the blonde hair Sting and look at his youngest son, that is they look exactly the same. And then the other one looks like a NWO Sting.
Yeah,
his youngest son looks exactly like him from Surfer Sting. Like if his son would just do the blonde hair, that's Surfer Sting.
Yeah, but I totally see them. Doing like the Bucks using their power to be like, hey, since you retired a champion, these belts are vacated. We're gonna appoint ourselves as champions because there's nobody else. Because you were our last match, and I can see a tag team tournament to see who would chase them. And here's one of my best predictions I can put out there. If they do this and run it for a while, I see Jurassic Express reuniting and winning the tag titles again.
No! I love it. You're just trying to upset AEW fans.
I pretty much am, yeah.
Is it going to be Jungle Boy getting a new father? Like, is he finally going to get?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Adam, to your point, I think AEW wanted to put the belt on Sting as much as anybody because they'll always be synonymous with the legend Sting. You know, they'll have in this trophy case, they'll always show an AEW belt, even though, so I don't think, because it's not the same unless they have the belt to show and it's all part of it, because when they list the name. So I think that's the way they're starting to kind of put a stamp on their presence with some of these legends. That's what I think anyway. So it'd be interesting. I really hope they don't lose to the Bucks like that. I like your idea of Sting retiring. And then the EVPs come in and either appoint themselves as champions, or they create a great tag, like a tournament, which they're doing really, really well at. So interesting to see. So Adam, while you have the mic, if you do, is there another win that you had for this week that you thought was worth commenting on?
Is it okay if I give one AEW and one non-AEW?
Sure.
Great. First, my first AEW, Daniel Garcia. The rise of Daniel Garcia. I have been loving Daniel Garcia since he came over and transitioning into this hard-hitting, between the line of being a pro wrestler and a pro entertainer. But he's more balancing towards the pro wrestling, even though he gets his dance. And I think he was the right call to answer Adam Copeland over the weekend. I think that's the right time. That's someone that's getting that push in that Continental Tournament. That showed very well in all his matches, going against a veteran like Adam Copeland. I would love to see Copeland. I know they're trying to build to one more match between Copeland and Christian for that TNT title, but wouldn't it be great to see Daniel Garcia get pushed to the moon to face Christian Cage for that TNT title? You know, I think that would be a great title, first off, to win for Daniel Garcia. So he's been impressing me so much, even during that Continental Tournament. So he's definitely my win, stepping up to the challenge to Adam Copeland. My second win of the week is TNA. TNA, even though we had some sad news of losing Scott D'Amore over there, getting let go and fired by Anthem, the company that's running TNA, man, are they setting up a really good pay-per-view card for No Surrender. They've got probably one of the best main events for the world title I've ever seen. It's Moose versus Alex Shelley in a no surrenders match. So both their groups are banned from ringside, but there's like no rules whatsoever in this match. So I'm so excited to see that match. But they are just doing so well with creative over there. Their roster is so good. They just got Nick Namath and former Dana Brooks of WWE is over there now, so waiting to see what she does in that ring. So those are definitely some of my wins for pro wrestling this week.
Yeah, maybe we can still touch on. I don't know if you guys want to, touch on this one, Scott D'Amore. I was blown away. I mean, I saw. I mentioned here before. I went to one of the TNA pay-per-views back in December here. Got to hear him live. Man is passionate about wrestling. Anybody is. And he led TNA. Again, we're only seeing from that version. We're kind of seeing if that's the character. I'm sure there's behind the scenes. I'm sure maybe there's financial decisions, but I was just kind of blown away that someone that we think, or I thought, he's a big part of this next shift, this new generation, this for TNA. That why would you get rid of someone? I thought he had the vision. I mean, I don't know, Mr. Hardgrave. What do you do? How do you feel about this, or do you have any opinion on Scott D'Amore and the potential of people saying he's coming over to AEW, or as an option, as a rumor?
Yeah, I hear that would be a good idea. I don't really know anything about him or what they were doing, but yeah, AEW could definitely use some help. I think there's only so long that Tony Khan can do this thing on his own. He's running like 4 shows now and all the pay-per-views. Like, yeah, a little extra help in that department could be a really good thing.
Totally. Siren, do you have any thoughts on the Scott D'Amore?
I was really confused as to what happened in the whole situation. I still have absolutely no idea. I mean, I kind of have a grasp on it, but I'm like, but yeah, I think that if they were to pick him up and have him come over and help with booking and whatnot in AEW, I mean, the things that he has done for TNA in the last little while, I mean, you can't really argue with it. So, I think it would be a positive. And I want to hit back to Adam's Daniel Garcia. Because, yeah, I am super stoked with what they're doing with Daniel Garcia. I'm really happy to see him coming back up into the whole, wrestler thing again. And I'm really hoping that they keep him going up. So yeah, I do hope that he gets that massive push. Adam, I really, really, really do.
Yeah, I mean, comment on that. I almost think the way what they're doing with Daniel Garcia is kind of like how with Johnny Gargano, when that Johnny wrestling underdog, you get behind him. He's that little pit bull. Like, he's walking up, he's accepting the challenge to freaking Adam Copeland, which is really cool. Like, to put him up, and he's having that promo experience with some of these big games. I love the fact that Adam, he probably like, I want to work with him. I just kind of know he probably said that, and because these guys see the value in this kid, and I definitely think he will be a champion. He will be, I think, a TNT champion, maybe by the end of the year. The way that if the crowd keeps on keeping behind him, for sure, I think you're going to see a huge rise. And again, he's more that homegrown talent. I know he came, he was wrestling in the independents before, but he's really been there, Bruce, right from the roots up. So people can't complain and say, oh, they bought this and they're bringing this guy over. No, he has been there from the get go. But Amir, did you have any thoughts on these two storylines?
Yeah, I'd like to see Scott D'Amore go somewhere. I think it'd be great if he went to AEW. I don't think he would be utilized. His skills would be utilized. I'm still firmly, because all evidence points to this. Tony wants to, be the booker, right? And he wants to run his Fed the way that he wants to run it. He's perfectly entitled to do that. I think it's a mistake. I think a lot of people see that he's doing too much. But, whatever. It is what it is. I don't think Scott D'Amore's skills would really be used well in AEW. Now, if he went to something like NWA, or, that might be interesting. He could certainly be an asset there. I'm totally behind the idea of Daniel Garcia getting pushed. The crowd loves him. He's different, even just the little things, just a little dance, and just it's something that I was going to kind of say in story time, but I could just kind of mention the one time when I had about 10 or 15 minutes just to be in part of a throng and listen to Adam Copeland. Interestingly enough, one time when I was in the WWE office here in Canada, I remember him mentioning specifically. This was right around the time of King of the Ring 2000. And he was talking about, me and Kristen, they had a four tag team match at that time. And he mentioned something, I don't remember the whole context of the conversation, but, every time we go out, we want to do something just a little bit different with our entrance, just to keep the crowd engaged, And I can see that he would see the value in a guy like Daniel Garcia, who's unique and a little bit different out there. So, yes, I definitely agree. I'm looking forward to seeing what Daniel Garcia will do. Great.
Connor, how do you feel about these two storylines and where your thoughts are and where they're going?
Daniel Garcia, I really like. I really like Daniel Garcia. I thought he's been really, I won't say stepping it up, but he's been given more opportunities, and he's run with the opportunities that he's been given. Continental Classic, he got back in the singles a little bit. He had one or two wins. No, he beat Brody King at the end. After that, he's been going against. He's been teaming with FTR and winning a lot of matches with them. FTR and Daniel Garcia are actually in the top 5 in the rankings for the trios division. So that's an interesting thing there. And then Daniel Garcia, who did he beat on Collision? It was.
I forget what his. Who was that? What's his name?
Who did he beat? It wasn't just
Shane Taylor.
Shane Taylor.
Shane Taylor, yeah, this Collision. Yeah.
Shane Taylor's a big dude. Like that's like if you're gonna pick him up, like he did. That's pure strength. And then we see Daniel Garcia and FTR had a match against Christian, and that kind of sets that out, and pretty made it known that he could win. He could win a title if he really wanted to. Christian kind of saw that. I felt like, and he comes out and confronts Edge about it. It's hard for me to call him Adam Copeland. He'll always be Edge to me. Confronted Edge, and then I really like that. And that promo exchange from Edge and Garcia, very quickly they have a lot of good chemistry with each other. That they never even work with each other, so it's kind of like Sting and El Phantasmo. like these two guys never worked with each other, and they have the best chemistry ever. So Edge and Garcia has a lot of chemistry. They're gonna have a match on Wednesday. I do think Edge wins, but at the end of 2024, I think Garcia will. He's gonna have. I don't know if it'll be TNT. Hopefully it's TNT, but I think he'll end up with the singles title before the year's over with. Scott D'Amore. If I could have just like 10 minutes with Tony Khan, he would sign Scott D'Amore, and Scott D'Amore would get his talents utilized. I swear he would. Like Tony Khan, of course, is always going to be the final decision maker. It doesn't care who's involved. Like he'll always get to say what's on TV, what's not on TV. But like Scott D'Amore, like a co-booker, like next to TK, just of course he doesn't have the final decision, but he has where he can throw off ideas.
He has the ear.
Yeah, he has the ear, and then some stuff he likes, he approves, some he doesn't. Kind of like that, a co-booker.
I like that.
Yeah,
maybe even like a creative team. I know AEW doesn't have a creative team, but something to that line because
just give him Rampage.
Yeah.
Here.
I love it.
No, do
What the hell?
Give him ROH.
Like give Scott D'Amore Rampage, and you'll see that show improved in 2 weeks probably. Scott D'Amore knows how to book the women. He knows how to like just watch his stuff of TNA. He really knew what he was doing with the women there. Like Adam mentioned, I felt like he booked the women better than WWE and AEW combined at times. But I really hope that does happen, and I really hope that Daniel Garcia does win the TNT Championship before this year's over with.
All right. So we're just going to maybe switch gears for a moment and introduce a new segment that we're just starting for tonight, and it's story time with Aimer. And Aimer, if you want to maybe just introduce yourself a little bit, so the title kind of makes sense as to why you have the story time.
Okay. Well, I guess it's because most of the people I think who are here have probably been watching other episodes, but I had the good fortune from 1992 until 2003 to be the IT contractor for WWF Canada, which became WWE. I remember the whole "Get the F Out" campaign. So I spent a fair bit of time in the office that they had here in North York, and met several of the Canadian and non-Canadian wrestlers as well, briefly. Some I spent a fair bit of time with, some I spent only little bits of time with. So I did come away with little stories and little tidbits here and there about all sorts of things, some of which I probably told. And I'm actually surprised people are already kind of getting sick of it. But hey, if people want to hear them, then that's fantastic. So, I was thinking about kind of a story to tell, in kind of the context of what we're saying here. I did mention about, spending a little bit of time with Edge, Adam Copeland, right around that time, around the time of King of the Ring 2000. And just to kind of put a bow on what we were just talking about, I'm so looking forward to that match tomorrow, and I think Daniel Garcia wins. I really do. I think he's going to win and earn the respect of Adam Copeland, and Daniel Garcia beats Christian for the TNT title, maybe with Adam Copeland being involved. And then, Edge and Christian, they don't need a title as kind of, things go. My brief story, though, I was thinking about that time, and I don't know why, probably because of something else that I had listened to. It triggered something in my mind. In that office every week, they would show Raw the next day, right? And they would have it on tape and then the boardroom and, out in front. Not everybody was a wrestling fan. A lot of people just worked there. And I remember there was one girl who worked kind of, at the front. She was basically the receptionist. And, she had to sit kind of in front of the TV and watch stuff. And I remember her specifically after that King of the Ring that year. That was the pay-per-view where they had the evening gown match between Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, if you recall that. And I remember, I was up at the front because I was helping people with their computers and stuff like that. And she's like watching this, and she's like, what the hell are they doing? Like who are these guys and what are they fighting for in dresses? You know, like, and you know, she, like I said, she wasn't really a huge fan. But I thought about it and I said, yeah, you know what? Gee, maybe some of us are really too much in the wrestling bubble that we don't realize that not everybody knows every darn thing that's going on. And I you know, in thinking about it, and more so over the years, especially with all the stuff that I've listened to, you know, AEW unfortunately has this rep, and I think some of it is deserved. That, you know, the hardcore AEW fan base expects everybody to know everything that's ever happened in wrestling history. You know, and and again, I just remember curiously around that time, you know, speaking to Adam Copeland briefly, and him saying, you know, do something different. Just a little bit different, you know, even if it's just wearing, you know, a jersey when you come out, or, you know, they were doing the thing, you know, for the benefit of those of flash photography and stuff like that. Every time they would come out with something just a little bit different, just to keep that connection with the audience fresh. I seem to remember that kind of verbiage being used at the time. And I think that wrestlers in all federations, but especially in AEW, can really benefit from that and think, how can I keep that connection with the audience? Because that's what you need. That's what gets people invested in watching you. Maybe your hardcore audience will watch you whatever you do, right? But if you make that connection to the audience, they'll watch you more closely. And Swerve is a perfect example of that right now. That's what I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would totally agree. And you know what? It wasn't until that Edge and Christian, because they're supposed to be that kind of dark, kind of like a, you know, vampire-ish type, and they came out with the Brood. But it wasn't
earlier. It was a couple of years earlier, but yeah.
Right. So, but it was when they said to connect, and we saw that humorous side.
Yes.
And same as like Kurt Angle did the same thing. People love humorous sides, right? And they were able to do it, and they got engaged, and they went from taking it, and they went almost complete opposite characters.
Yep.
Like almost ridiculous, but they had engaged, and it was like, because it was them. It felt like legit, because people knew they were like best friends. They're probably doing this shit in their basement like since they were, you know, 10 years old, right? So it's funny. No, that's a good story.
It's genuine, right? And that's really the thing. And that's kind of like the comment I made about the Bucks, right? Maybe they're working on it, you know, whatever, giving them full benefit of the doubt. But whatever they do, if they're going to lean into it, they got to come off as real genuine. And I think little things like that, right? I hope Adam Copeland suggests that to them. Guys, you got to go and wear those clothes, you know, for the next few weeks. Little things like that are really going to help.
Very cool.
What you said there, Matt.
What's that?
Say?
When you said earlier about Edge and Christian, that was funny. I haven't had a laugh like that in a while. So.
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, they do go way back, right? I mean, I live about an hour from where they grew up in Orangeville. You know, I've been up there. We have some customers up there, and it's like that. That's what we do. Like, you know, growing up in the 70s and 80s in Ontario, yeah, you spent a lot of time at other people's houses. You just did stuff in their basement. Me and my friend Aaron, we did all sorts of stuff in our basement. You know? So
that's awesome. Well, thanks, Amber. That's great. It's always nice to hear stories. I'm a big fan of behind-the-scenes stories, personally. That's one of my favorite. As I get older, that's some of the best stuff. I almost could not watch wrestling, but give me the behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, what they go through. I love all. I could watch for hours and hours and hours, which is great. You know, we'll segue back, and you know, maybe we'll start. Siren, was there something that from this past week that kind of rubbed you the wrong way, so to speak, or you didn't quite like, you know, what you saw? Was there anything?
I'm tired of Chris Jericho and Don Callis.
You mentioned that before, but yeah.
You took mine.
It's still happening, though. I mean, like, I could still be tired of it.
Yes, absolutely.
This week, it's still going. Yeah.
I'm kind of lumping Sammy Guevara in that too. When he comes out, I'm like, I don't know. And him
I miss Sammy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, you know, you were kind of going on a downward with Jericho before you left to go do like the early dad stuff. And so you come back to go do more stuff.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I miss Sammy. I'm really excited to see more from him, but I really hope that it is a turn around because I'm not digging this. What's happening right now? Nope.
Mr. Hargrave, do you have the same? How do you feel about this storyline? Are you that's a positive or negative?
Oh, Jericho is a black hole where people go, where careers go to die. And the most exciting part of that match is when Sammy ran out and started fighting Powerhouse Hobbs, and I just wanted to stay with that. I didn't want to go back to Jericho. I was like, no, stay with Sammy and Hobbs, man. That's a good match. I want to see that match. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah, Amir.
Yep, I totally agree. Like, Don Callis is the one guy in AEW who can kind of get real heat the way Dominic Mysterio does, but it's not going anywhere. Like, what are they doing with that heat, right? Just like Jericho is kind of that attention vampire, Callis is like that heat vampire. And frankly, I'm not even sure if it's deliberate on both their parts. But this like this Don Callis has all this heat. Like, I can't hold it. Like, it's all dissipating. You know what does he do with it? And it's not going anywhere. That's the problem.
Did anyone see Jericho from his boat cruise when he actually wore like the little trunks?
I saw that. He looked ridiculous.
Yeah, he did. It's almost like an old man running around in underwear. It's funny.
Yep.
Connor.
Again, if he could just lean in. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we're talking about like leaning into things. You know, he looks like he's basically perfected the look almost by accident of being that aging rock star, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But just lean into it, you know. Be that fat guy from Motley Crue. Do it, you know. Just live it, Chris. Come on. Yeah.
And he was, and he got a lot of heat on online for being out of shape. So I think he stepped it up.
I'm gonna start using that now. I'm gonna start using that. Be that fat guy from.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. It's like, come out. Like, I know Eddie Kingston's already challenged Danielson. Have Jericho come out and said, "I'm the king of the bums." Jericho's pulling it off. I think he's doing a good job. Anyway.
It's been with me for a while. I'm actually gonna go tell my mom and I'm that after this is over.
Connor,
He should cut promos the way that Vince Neil sings.
Yeah.
Badly.
Yeah, there you go.
Says Jericho needs to leave and reinvent himself again. He's really good at reinventing himself, so maybe
can we handle another reinvention? I mean, we've seen
just be Jericho, man.
Yes, it's just since AEW. It's what?
Who is Jericho?
4 years, playing four different looks.
Just be just like you said. Just be the aging rock star. Just be Jericho. Just come out, play. I mean, it's what he already does. He just plays Judas. Everybody sings, then walk to the back. Don't do anything else.
I'd be fine.
Just like I said,
Judas plays loud as hell. Come out. I love you all. Thank you for the night. Judas plays loud as hell. Walk off.
Yeah, honky tonk man, right? You're a beautiful audience. All you people back there in the cheap seats, and turn to the other side. It's like, all you people, I see you too. Like yeah.
Just like I said last week, I am done with this. I attended Dynamite last year, around All In August. This shit was going on then, and we're in February. It'll be in March. This is still going on. This feels like the Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio stuff. I mean, it never ends. I mean, first the daughter comes in, then the wife comes in, and then the whole family comes in. And what are we going to do? Are we going to drag Jericho's kids in the desk? Jericho has no help. Omega's out. So Jericho drags his family in the desk. And then,
please let's not do this.
No, I shouldn't even gave that idea out. I feel like I see Sammy go back on singles. He's better as a singles wrestler. He's done everything he can with Jericho. I feel like the Inner Circle, the JAS, he's done everything he can do with Jericho. There seems to be a big shakeup, that whole hellhole of the story.
Adam, did you have a fail for the week or something that you just didn't like?
Or first of all, to follow up with everything with the Jericho Don Callis, it does need to end. I'm over it. I think Jericho is at that stage where you guys saying reinvent himself. He's reinvent himself enough. I don't know where you can save it. And again, it just goes back to the whole. He's just doing a lot, between the cruise, Fozzy, AEW. It's just, and now he's
Podcast. He does his
and then acting. I mean, because he's going to be in the new Terrifier 3 movie this year, but it's only going to be a short role, but it could lead to more stuff, as guest roles in movies and TV. But he's doing a lot. And I think it's at the point where he's at that Sting time where it's like, dude, you can hang up your boots. You had a hell of a career. But this just been dragging out, and I kind of feel for Sammy Guevara. Like, I feel he needs to go solo. I don't need to be tying in with this Chris Jericho, Don Callis family crap anymore. And I will say this, and I stand by this statement. Short hair Jericho in WWE 2007 was the best Chris Jericho in any era of pro wrestling. Even better than the Lionheart in the early days of, WCW, ECW, and New Japan. The short hair Jericho in WWE was my favorite Jericho character anywhere. But to go about with mine, I also have an issue with story and booking of House of Black. If anybody knows, I'm a huge House of Black fan. I love the stable. I love all three guys on their own. But I do not know where they're going with them. They had that feud with FTR where they're like, you're going to join us. Like that's pretty much their story every time is, hey, join us. They're turning into Dark Order, but darker. So it's like, I don't know where they're going with House of Black. We say this all the time. Honestly, don't think they needed to drop those trios titles. They could have had a dominant run with those trios titles for a while. I think they dropped them just because of what they want to do now with the crap with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. I honestly think there's like no direction they have storyline and creative for House of Black, and they need to fix that. So that's pretty much my thing. I haven't liked in a while.
Merchandising, boy, it's about them belts. Got to sell them belts.
The ugliest trios belts I've ever seen, man. I'm telling you. At this point, the Ring of Honor 6-man tags titles look prettier than any other titles right now for trios.
Like how much are those titles? Like $4,999 on Shop AEW. Like they look. But it's not like the replica. It's like if they lost the title, that's the belt they would be getting. But I thought they've made enough money off those pink belts and shirts, and I think.
What? As we're approaching up to the hour mark of the show, we're going to just maybe pivot again over to our last segment. I'm going to hand it over to Connor to introduce. This is a primarily Canadian show, even though we do have our members are across the border, which we love anyways. But, we do try and keep it a bit of a theme. So, Connor, if you want to just kind of introduce a little bit of a Canadiana type little segment here to finish off the show.
Yeah, so I feel like this is one thing we've lacked on this show is Canadian wrestling. It's AEZ Canada. We do AEW, but it's hard not to bring up this one person, Bret the Hitman Hart. Probably one of the most, there's a lot of legends that's come from Canada, but Bret Hart, best there is, best there was, best there will be, always sticks out when you think of Canada and wrestling. I have some facts about him that I don't think anyone knows about him. This is kind of weird, I thought. But at the end of this whole thing, I have a little thing for all of us. But did you guys know Bret Hart never wanted to become a pro wrestler? He said to his parents, I never want to get into this. I don't have any passion for it. I will never set foot in that ring. He wanted to be a cartoonist or a filmmaker. That's what his goals were. He was going to go to the University of
Alberta.
What's that?
Alberta, probably.
Yeah, it's one of the. I don't have my glasses on me, but he did not want to be a wrestler. But he definitely became a wrestler and multiple WrestleManias, multiple World Championships. It is weird thinking that this dude never wanted to become a wrestler, and he became the best there is at it. And then Bret Hart also, if that didn't work out, he wanted to be a home ec teacher, which
Wow.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, Bret Hart
I wanted
also,
to be a cartoonist.
Bret Hart also has a talent like Jerry the King Lawler does, and Jeff Hardy, as he's a very good cartoonist drawler. If anyone knows Jerry Lawler's and Jeff Hardy's drawing, they can really, really, really draw. Jerry Lawler, I went to a Comic-Con, and he would, like, besides wrestling stuff, he would draw all day. He would just sit there and draw Superman, and it looked like it came from the movies. That's what Bret Hart wanted to do at first. Bret Hart did not want to become a wrestler. He hated wrestling with a passion, and somehow, some way, he became what he has. Bret Hart also holds he's a citizen of both Canada and the U.S. I did not know that as well. He is partly from America and Canada. I guess he more so grew up in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if he was born because with all the traveling. I mean, he could if he was just happened to be born in the U.S. Maybe if his mom was traveling with his dad. I don't know because I think both his parents aren't they both Canadian?
No, his mother is from New York City.
Yeah, his mother Helen Hart hails from the U.S. She was born and raised in Long Island, New York. So Bret Hart is also from the city of Long Island. So
it's a magical place.
So MJF
Give us MJF. Yeah.
So MJF, you are no longer the legend in Long Island.
I mean, he did do that Bret Hart-esque promo.
That was really
if anybody remembers that. That
was around the same time that Bret Hart got jumped at the Hall of Fame. And MJF said, "Oh, Bret, there's a fan." I thought that was really funny. Bret Hart, he spent a total of 654 days as champion during the 90s, the most by any WWE wrestler, while he was the first round best WWE champion. Bret Hart's accomplished a lot in his career. He's technically appeared in every major promotion. WCW, he appeared in TNA for a little bit. As weird as that sounds. And the last thing to this, if you could get a time machine, you can convince Bret Hart to leave the 90s and come to the 2024s, and from one to each of us, who would you like to see Bret Hart go against in today's wrestling? It could be from AEW, WWE, it could be from anywhere. If you could convince Bret Hart to leave the 90s for a little bit, who would you guys like to see Bret Hart go against in this age of wrestling?
Daniel Bryan.
MJF.
That's what I was going to say. What about you, Adam Hargrave?
Oh, I'd like to watch him beat up Goldberg for his final match. Because I want to give him something. I feel that's what he would want to do. He would want to be in his prime to properly end the career of Goldberg in a squash match.
I feel like that's the only way his career ends. That he takes away from what the person took away from him.
Bret Hart in his prime against Johnny Gargano in his prime.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
I hate that. I mean, Johnny Gargano is one of these generational wrestlers right now that if you give him good storytelling and good creative, the man can do anything. I think he's been one of my favorite guys to watch coming through independence, going to NXT and WWE. I'd like to see him mix it up at some point with some guys in AEW, like him and a Daniel Garcia or an MJF. But Johnny Gargano, I would love to see hook it up with Bret Hart in his prime. And if we're going to go tag teams with him and Jim the Anvil, I'd love to see the Hart Foundation in their prime go against FTR.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
If I'm going to pick, I'll tell you what. I mean, prime Bret Hart against prime Kurt Angle. Can you imagine? Gosh. But if it had to be something that might be realistic today, given Bret Hart having the ability to go, AJ Styles.
You know, sorry, I got to jump in. Like Darby Allin and a Bret Hart match would be pretty killer.
That'd be interesting. Like a Bret Hart and Jeff Hardy.
I disagree. Darby will want to do crazy stuff, and Bret was never about that. That's the thing, right?
But
so I don't want to stop next so much.
But Brett's been a part of some crazy stuff too. Like he's been in like chairs and crashing into stuff, and he'll do that. He did do some of that work.
He did.
But the way it's paced, though, the way that Bret Hart paced himself in those matches in the 90s, like what Darby does today, it's very hard to comprehend and compromise that kind of match with Darby Allin against prime Bret Hart. Just because if you watch any Bret Hart match from those days, it was a certain pace. And it was almost like step. It was almost like two-stepping or line dancing or like some type of dancing, like where you have the steps in that. Whereas Darby Allin's just flying all over the place, hitting crazy stuff that I don't know if I would enjoy a prime Bret Hart versus a Darby Allin match.
Yeah.
I love Darby Allin.
Yeah, I agree.
Siren.
Sorry. Yeah, Siren didn't go. That's right. Yeah, sorry.
I did ask an MJF. Like right at the beginning, I was like MJF.
Who's the true king of Long Island?
Right? Like the Long Island Showdown in Long Island. Like,
but the match, for me personally, the match now since Hardgrave said it, I don't know. Goldberg probably wouldn't be able to go too much longer, but at least
I just want him to be able to beat up Goldberg just IRL, just shoot fight.
Goldberg deserves.
we can actually beat him up.
Even though Goldberg doesn't have much of a wrestling career left, just take something away from that man, from what he took away from Bret Hart.
Doesn't Goldberg beat himself up before he goes out to the matches anyway? Doesn't he like bash his head into stuff before he goes out? He might even knock himself out before he goes out there.
He's bleeding before he comes out.
Right? Brett's like, where is he? Everyone's like,
Goldberg and Moxley would be a good match because they bleed all over the damn place, even before coming out to the arena.
Yeah, they're all just like, what happened?
I don't know what Bret Hart could take because Bret Hart still has not gotten over that. He is still on. Like I really think that he wants to still. I think he wants to still wrestle today. I don't know how he would, but
he can't. Wouldn't.
But I feel like he wanted to have a little bit longer wrestling career to go against some people that he would have gotten a chance to wrestle. I don't think he'd be wrestling today. Maybe he'd pull a Ric Flair. I don't know. Bret Hart's final match in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It'll be Bret Hart, an old Bret Hart, and Bret Hart and Dax Harwood versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Bret Hart's final match. Not really. He's going to come back in AEW and he's going to wrestle MJF.
Now we can put out there to the group if with Bret Hart on a top 10 of Canadian wrestlers of all time, where would he stack up as on that list of top 10 Canadians?
One person says Bret Hart versus TNA Kurt Angle. Perk Angle.
Oh, TNA, that's Perk Angle. That's Perk Angle if that time.
Yeah, Perk Angle versus that'd be very interesting. That would Bret Hart and Zack Sabre Jr. would also be really good. Both good technical. Like Bret Hart can do a lot of different styles, but technical he's always been really good at. So him and Zack Sabre Jr. would be very interesting.
Cool. So Connor, of your top 10 Canadians, where would you put Bret Hart on that top 10 list?
There's one person that always struggles. Like I want to put Bret Hart number one, but there's one person or two people actually, Chris Benoit and Edge. But if I had to put him, Bret Hart would probably easily be number two for me. For me, I know it was controversial, but Chris Benoit will probably be my number one favorite Canadian wrestler personally. But there's a lot of other good ones. Christian, Edge, Trish Stratus, Petey Williams. He created the freaking Canadian Destroyer. Like he created a whole move for these people just to.
Iron Mike Sharp.
Yeah.
Canada's greatest athlete.
Yes.
Kenny Omega.
Mr. Hargrave, if you had a top 10 list of Canadians, where would Bret Hart sit on that list for you?
Yeah, I'm educating myself now. I'm actually seeing that every single wrestler is actually Canadian, so that's interesting. I would have to put Bret Hart at a 3 underneath Roddy Piper and Kenny Omega.
Ooh, I didn't think.
I don't think of Roddy Piper as Canadian at all, but there he is.
Yeah.
And he's like my number one, actually. I think Roddy Piper is the number one greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah, he
in
does
all
not.
categories.
He is. Yeah, he should be on more Mount Rushmores for sure.
Yeah,
next
he's
week for
amazing.
next week for this segment, we'll do our top 10 Canadian wrestlers because now I just forgot about a whole slate of people.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, every wrestler is Canadian. I mean, as long as you know that, then you're good to go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Dino Bravo.
I was gonna say,
Like there's going back.
Pretty much every big name that ever came through wrestling came from Canada, which I think that wasn't for Canada, wrestling wouldn't be what it is today because of guys like Bret Hart, Jericho.
No, I agree. Adam, where would
I mean, with all the Canadian wrestlers that, like Connor said, has come through pro wrestling. I mean, I can think of a few ones. Gene Kiniski, if anybody remembers him. I mean, you had, you got, the newer ones, Christian Cage. I mean, Stu Hart. I mean, obviously, Rick Martel was Canadian. I mean,
Rougeau brothers.
Rick, what was his nickname? Rick the model. Rick the Model Martel. So I mean, but with Bret Hart, again, I'm going to go with Mr. Hartgrave. I think he's definitely number 2 behind probably one of the greatest wrestlers that don't get enough recognition. That's Roddy Piper. I honestly loved Roddy Piper. If I had to put him on par with another one, was Owen Hart. I mean, obviously, the 2 greatest mid-card pro wrestlers that I don't even think Roddy won a world title ever in WWF when he was there. And it's a shame because the man just put to work. He just was great between Piper's Pit, his promos in the ring, his matches in the ring, just his attitude. Anytime you hear those bagpipes hit, you knew you were going to get something special. I think that's why MJF idolizes Roddy Piper. I think that's why CM Punk idolizes Roddy Piper. He's left a lot of marks on a lot of people, and I don't think he gets the most credit he deserves as being, because again, like we say, when you think Canadian wrestler, a lot of people go straight to the Hart family, but someone like a Roddy Piper, is definitely up there for me. So I would put Bret behind him. And again, probably put my favorite guy, Edge, at number 3. So.
Amer, where would you put him?
Roddy Piper, a lot of people have asked Bruce Prichard just as a sidebar, how come he never won a title? Bruce would always kind of wave it off and say, well, he never needed a title. But when pressed about it, he said, the problem with giving Roddy a title is you got to take it off of him at some point. And that's tough, right? It doesn't surprise Roddy. They would say this a generation ago about Terry Funk. He's your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, right? And Roddy Piper today is most people's favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, right? Because you love him, you hate him, you can't ignore him. And that's the thing. That's what I kind of rolled into before, having that connection with the audience, right? Like you said, those bagpipes hit and everybody pops. Everybody feels it, right, when Roddy Piper came around. I hadn't considered Roddy Piper as a Canadian wrestler for the purposes of Connor's question, but yeah, I'm going to go, for me, just my take, I'm going to put Piper and then Benoit, and then I put Bret Hart. So I put him at number 3 for myself. Just a brief story time, if you'll forgive me, for part 2. Bret Hart, as a cartoonist, he would have a chalkboard drawing at every single show he was at, right? That was like the first thing he would do when he would arrive at the arena. So he was a very, very accomplished artist and cartoonist, and he would routinely give people stuff for, their birthdays and things like that. From the WWE office, I spent a fair bit of time with Carl DeMarco, who was the president of WWE Canada. Mm-hmm. Bret Hart was one of the best men at Carl's wedding. When I started at WWE Canada, that was shortly after the passing of Owen Hart. So at one point, I went to Carl DeMarco's house to do a few things, and I sat with him for a few hours, and he had all these pictures, from his wedding, with Bret and things like that. And we just started chatting about a whole bunch of things. And I don't remember the whole conversation, obviously, but, I sort of remember Carl hinting at, what happened after Montreal. And I think I might have made this up in my own head. I have to, if I ever get the chance, I'd love to ask Bruce Prichard this. I think Carl mentioned something about Vince McMahon contacting him and after the screw job and saying, you know, can you smooth things over with Brett a little bit, at least talk to him and feel him out? I have a feeling that maybe I just made that up in my head, but it's possible. But they had that kind of relationship. They were really, really close. Carl told me at the time, I do remember this, that their relationship was not the same, obviously, after the screw job. They spoke a few times. But I said, gee, that's really rough. And I distinctly remember, Carl, these words: Brett's Brett, and he's never going to change. And I just remember the seriousness with which he said that. I haven't seen Carl in many, many years. I hope that he and Brett have reconciled that, because I know, like, I could just hear from Carl's voice in talking about him that he really regretted that relationship had been fractured. So I'll just throw that in about Bret Hart.
Very cool. Siren, would Bret Hart be on your top 10 list of Canadians? Number 4.
4.
And who's above him?
We have Kenny Omega, Benoit, Adam Copeland.
That was good. What I'll do, just to be, I know we're running out of time here. Just a quick story. When I was probably about 17, I had called into CFRB 1010 in Toronto while the WWE, I guess F at the time, were in promoting a show, and I was able to call in and talk to Bret Hart. And back then, because my dream, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I remember asking about going to school and where to go to school, and just to get his advice on that. And I mean, back then he was just more or less, bless you. He was more or less saying, well, you just got to look it up. And that was back in probably like about 30 years ago, right? So where wrestling schools weren't abundant. You had to go and find these places, and it was a real so I was just really interested to hear. It's not cheap, and he was just kind of like, yeah, it's good, but it's you had to be really dedicated. So it was interesting. So that was my kind of like a little my connection with Bret Hart. Was I actually got to call into a radio show, and he took my call and gave me some advice, which I didn't take, but that's mine. But as we come, and I would say for my list, I would definitely put him, my top 5 for sure. I say again, since you brought Roddy Piper up, I'd probably put Bret Hart second, maybe Owen, Jericho, Omega, and Alex. No, Storm. What's his name? Lance Storm. And Benoit for sure. So yeah, I was looking forward to it. So now we can do the top 10 list for next week. Now I got the juices flowing for that. So, but we're coming to the end of the show. Great show as usual, and thank you for all the members for joining up again and for our first live show. So thank you very much, whoever tuned in and commented. Always appreciated. Please like and subscribe, and tell all your friends and family. Join us next week. Thanks again, guys, and have a great week.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.